Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I want to welcome our guest, Denis, to the show. Denis, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Outstanding.
This is a perfect example of a hiccup. We're on again.
There we go. Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest impacting the world around us. The guests are absolutely incredible. And I want to welcome everybody to an amazing episode. Life Transformation Radio is heard in over 90 countries. So whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and international best-selling author, Sean Douglas. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can join our Facebook group, Life Transformation Radio Community, and never miss an episode by subscribing to the show on your favorite podcast platform. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play Music, or Google Podcasts. Subscribe to us on Pandora, or subscribe to us on the YouTube channel, Life Transformation Radio. My guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, other amazing human beings that are impacting the world around them. And my guest today does exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests coming on the show, give us a call, 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. Denis, I'm so pumped to have you on the show, man. Tell everybody where you're calling in from.
I'm calling from Halifax, Nova Scotia, on the east coast of Canada.
Love it. I'm going to add that to my bucket list. I think that the leaves changing there in the fall, I've heard, has got to be so beautifully amazing.
The amount of tourists coming over here is amazing. And we get a lot of people from the U.S., motorhomes and everything. And you just really enjoy the scenery, especially in the fall. Exactly.
I love it. I love it. The title of this episode is Mind to Mind Conversations with author Denis Hachey. After reading and listening to over $50,000 worth of material and running a successful business, Denis has come to the conclusion that the answer to life's most difficult problems are simple. What's difficult is finding the simple answer. As humans, we tend to look for the sophisticated answer and use complicated processes that leave us struggling and giving up on our dreams. That's why Denis decided to share what he has learned over the past 30 years so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. His goal is simply to give back what he has learned. You can change your life from struggling to being unstoppable using his simple method for as little as the cost of 3 lattes. On the side, Denis has given hundreds of books to entrepreneurs, students, homeless, and even people retiring. The feedback alone has fulfilled his desire to help the world. Denis has over 25 years' experience in business, including co-ownership of a successful multi-million-dollar venture for over 20 years. His experiences in the business world have inspired him to share what he has learned and to offer insight into how to change wishing and dreaming into a plan of action to make that dream happen. This episode will definitely resonate with you to follow your heart to create the life you truly want and desire. His LinkedIn link is right there. Go ahead and send him a friend request, letting him know that you listened to his episode of Life Transformation Radio. Go to his website at Denis, Denis, Hachey, HACHEY.com. Go there, check out his books, check out what he's offering, and let's dive in. The first question that I have to ask, and I believe is the most important question, is why? Why do you do what you do?
Well, Sean, what happens is over the years, like you mentioned, I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. I travel a lot on the road with my business, and basically they call it University on Wheels. And the nature is always helping, is always great. And it doesn't matter how much you help. It's like lighting up a candle and then lighting up 1,000. The first candle will never be less. So whenever I teach people, right, when I turn around to leave, I'm always 4 feet off the ground. And that's the reason that I believe that when you have some knowledge and you're able to help somebody, I think we should be able to do that.
I love that. And I love that analogy that you just used as well. That was very, very cool. Love that. Where did that come from?
I've always questioned everything about life that you can imagine, and basically I never really had a mentor to move me forward. So the best vehicle next to that was to read, and I just kept reading, and eventually I got into the audiobooks, and now I'm with Audible, and I listen to podcasts, and as I kept learning, that's how I kept moving ahead.
Love it. I feel like everybody goes through these transformational moments, and it changes our lives. If we're not growing, we're dying. Question. It's been said many times. If we're not growing, we're dying. So talk to us about your transformational moment that has changed your life and put you on the path to what you're doing today.
I would say the transformation has been at different levels because each time they're almost like stepping stone. The more you learn, you reach another level. And I found the transformation came that eventually if you read all the right stuff, your mindset is on the positive side. Basically, the cup is always half full. And Ellen Keller is one of the one that I really like her quote. She says, if you always keep your face towards the sun, you'll never see the shade. So that was one of the transformation. As I kept going, I'm learning more and more how you can more or less connect with what you want to see in the future and think about it, and it will actually happen. So the more you learn, the better you get to learn all these processes, and eventually life unfolds itself amazingly the way you see it in your mind.
Got it. Oh, I love that. You mentioned a bunch of times that you got into audiobooks and you read a lot of books. And so what are the ones that stick out for you? What are some of your favorite books?
Think and Grow Rich was the first one. Really, it was ahead of its time when you really think about it, because the last book that I was just listening to was Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he really gets into the quantum physics, and he mentions about Think and Grow Rich, which was really in the era of the iron, and they didn't have all the equipment we have today, and he was dead on. It's the same way as Einstein, where the scientists are now discovering to prove what Einstein was saying was right then. So as you keep moving, that's how it moved ahead.
I love that. Yeah, I've read, I think everybody has read, every entrepreneur I think has read, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Man, there's so many. John Maxwell's got a bunch. Robert Kiyosaki's got a bunch. I think The E-Myth is a great one. I really like The One Thing. I really liked The One Thing book. That was amazing, amazing, amazing book. Everybody that I see that reads that book, they're like, oh my God, it was great. It was absolutely amazing. Because we find out that we actually kind of suck. Like, we're not doing it the right way.
No, exactly.
I think that's what's great about being an author, too.
What's that?
I said, I think that's what's great about being an author, too, is we have the opportunity to do that for somebody and be that something for somebody, or be that everything for somebody.
That's right. You amass a lot of knowledge, and you see it in a different way. So if you have 100 people seeing an object, everybody sees it in a different way. So it doesn't matter if we're learning the similar process, the similar thing, but through our experience, what's going to happen is we'll take it at a different angle. And if we can take that experience and write it up in the form of a book, what you have now is a different angle. So everybody could explain Think and Grow Rich in their own ways, and you would still learn something at a different level.
Aha. That makes sense. I guess I've never thought about it that way. Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's talk about your book, Mind to Mind Conversations. What was it like writing that?
I wrote it in my mind for 10 years. I think the first thing you have to do when you want to write a book is kind of go reverse engineering. And the biggest thing is the why. Why do you want to write a book? If you don't have that answer, and I always tell people, because I've helped a lot of people to write a book, and basically I tell them, unless you have the why, and don't rush it, it's going to fall on your lap. It could be 6 months, 3 months. You should never rush something that important. So basically what you have to do is, what's the reason to write the book? Unless you have that, you don't have a foundation. So my why was eventually is, first of all, I kept traveling a lot, and I really want to help people, but I was traveling so much that I didn't have the time to do it locally. So then all of a sudden I'm thinking, I learned all this information. Why don't I compress it into one book that is really easy to understand? And that's where it came. I spent 10 years writing it in my mind, and then I wrote it within 2 weeks on paper.
Wow. That was fast.
Yeah. I knew the whole story over and over.
Okay, I got you. To think is that it takes decades to gain the knowledge and experience to even have content to put into the book. And then, like you said, it just writes itself after that. I mean, 2 weeks. That's awesome.
And it doesn't have to take that long. For me, it was just that I was amassing a lot of material, and the next book I'm going to write, I figure I can write it in probably a period of 2 months, because I've already had the stuff brewing in my mind for the last year or two. But I never feel that I rush things. I always flow like a river. Sometimes you get a rock in front of you, you just get around it. And sooner or later, if you keep it in your mind, it's going to materialize itself. Always does.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Where can people get your book?
I have it on Amazon. Also, if they get a hold of me, I have it in Audible. So I have it in French, English, Farsi, and it's available on Amazon. It was bestseller on Amazon. There's about 50 reviews.
Oh, cool. Oh, very cool. If you had to sum up a message from your book for the listeners, what would that takeaway be? What would that message be that the listeners need to know?
Being totally non-biased, if I can say it that way. I wrote the book and I didn't know what to expect from it. But from what I've been hearing from people and the way that I wrote it is everybody needs to read it. People in the business side, it'll be a review. But anybody else that is wondering which direction it should go, this book is a narrative that will get the reader inside the book, and you will actually experience the process as you read it. And it's extremely unique. And I could tell you all the stuff that's been happening with people that read it and the comments they gave me. And you can go and see it on the reviews. It's just amazing. It's a very different way to write it. And I wrote it so if somebody reads it and do it again in 2 years, they will get a different message on the second shot.
Huh. I like it. Very cool. So knowing our transformational moment and our why, I like to put that together and figure out how you have elevated the world around you. A lot of times we go through these dark, deep moments, right? The dark night of the soul, if you will. And out of those moments birth something amazing, a book, a course, a podcast, a coaching program. Something gets created from it. And so I look and I'm like, like everything that's ever happened as a result of my down moment was a result of me growing and changing and then elevating the world around me. So I asked you, what have you done to elevate the world around you?
I guess a great thing is I come from a very small town and I was very shy. Just for an example, I used to work at a gas station for 2 years. A town of 1,200 people, there was about 200 customers coming there for 2 years, and I probably talked to about 5 of them. And through reading and through learning, you basically get out of your shell. And what happens is this was a great thing for the simple reason that whenever you can experience something at a certain level, when you meet somebody that's in that same situation, you're able to help them because you've been in their shoes. And I really like the transformation that I've taken from this because I've come from a very small town. Then I got into business, and because of my attitude as I kept reading, I got a chance to get into a different business that was way bigger. And as life progressed, I got into a business that I'm a co-owner of over $10 million a year in sales. And you just keep growing. And you always want to help somebody else that is asking questions and wants to move forward but are not exactly sure how to. And once you get to a certain level, you get to see that it's not that complicated.
I like it. That's very, very cool. I like that. So moving forward, what is your plan for this book, for mind-to-mind conversations? What is it that you hope to accomplish? I know that we talked about, resonating with people to follow their heart to create the life they truly want and desire. How do you think that's going to play out? Because I know that some of the books that we talked about, I know what Rich Dad Poor Dad has done for me. I know what Think and Grow Rich has done. The Richest Man in Babylon is a really great book if you want to know about finances. The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clay is an absolutely amazing book. So what is it that you hope that people take away from your book, or what does it hope that your book does for other people?
So my first book, and first of all, if you look at young people, the millennium, there's statistic that shows that more or less the chance to get a home is going to be a lot harder than the past generation. And I feel that that's the norm. But however, if anybody wants to get in the race, all you have to learn is a few techniques and you're able to get ahead because this world is full of opportunities. So it's just how can you find a way to get into a mindset where you can move ahead and do whatever you want to in the world. And you've heard the saying before, if somebody goes, if there's 1,000 people going in a certain direction and 5 goes the other way, follow the 5 and you'll be okay. And it's the same way with this book. Is basically, I feel that this book is like the briquette that will start the charcoal to turn and get into a fire. And the reason for that is it puts you into the right mindset. And once people are into this mindset, it's like a hobby. When you start, once you get interested, then you guide yourself. You've read so many books, and then you got more interested. And as you get interested, you expand your knowledge. So the whole goal is for people that are wondering, like, what should I do? This could be people that's empty nesters and they think they want to get back in the workforce and they say, well, I'm not good enough. They don't realize how many people would want to hire them. Students that are over university being finished and wonder, like, with this COVID-19, what's going to happen? There's so many opportunities. I could give all kinds of examples. And the book shows a lot of these. It talks about, first of all, how you can go and take somebody for dinner in business and ask them questions. Free education, the real world. And so many people don't even have an exit plan in business where if you approach them the right way, you could eventually own that business in 2 or 3 years just by the way you approach it. So it's how you approach things in life and how you look at it, and it doesn't have to be complicated. We have a million recipes. We have a million ways to lose weight. Every time you walk at the grocery store, you see all these magazines. But really, if you really look at it, it's not complicated. If you eat less and you exercise more, the formula is there. The formula is there with 2 numbers. In life, it's the same way. It's attitude, and it's moving forward and being better than yesterday. And the whole book explains that. Life does not have to be complicated. What happens is everything around us makes us think, because we're bombarded with so much, that life is complicated. And the way I'd like to explain it is, if you have a tornado, you have your center, your eye. When you're in the eye, it's calm. The problem in today's world is we're always around the eye and not in the eye. What you have to do is step back into the eye, and then you're calm, and then you can look outward and see what's going on and how you can navigate.
Oh, right on. That's absolutely incredible. I'm like trying to feverishly take notes. Amazing.
I'll give you an example, Sean. This is how I feel, but you let me know what you think. If I'm stressed,
okay,
because we're in business and there's times where you're stressed. If I'm stressed, whenever I walk around, I don't see people that are stressed. But when I'm calm, let's say I had a great weekend and I'm relaxed, or it's a time of year where it's not as busy and you're able to be relaxed, you notice everybody that are stressed. You ever notice that?
Okay. I'm following. I'm tracking.
Yeah. So, the same way in business, the same way when you learn information, what happens is when you're tuned in to looking for that, the events will happen in front of you. You'll be able to grab onto them. So it's just a way of feeling and how you're able to search things. I say that life is almost like a subway, and it starts from point A and it gets to point Z. And at every point it stops and it allows you to get off. And that's life. And that stop is an opportunity. The nice thing about life is that opportunity when you get off, if it didn't work out, what we call failure, you get back onto the subway and you go on to the next stop. The problem is so many people get on the subway and never get off till the end, and then they sit on their deathbed and they think, wow, I wish I would have done so many things in my life, which was actually getting off each stop.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Wow. Absolutely incredible, my friend. So what's left for you in 2020? You got some kind of a book tour coming up. Talk about that.
What I'm doing in August is I'm going to be doing a book tour and offering my book for free. And I'm going to have some material in there that are absolutely credible, especially for the COVID-19. I have ways, first of all, to save money. I have ways to invest. The way my mind worked for years, in my 20s, I used to buy cars that were older, but I'm mechanical. I used to fix watch. My background's electronic. I've read just about anything you can think at every angle. So the way I could see it is I would buy a car because I had the knowledge for it for about $7,000-8,000, which is about $5,000 American. And I would take the difference because my budget used to be about $25,000-30,000. And I would take the difference and invest in land. And then eventually what I did is I moved ahead and got some land, resold it, got some apartments. So it's a way of thinking. Not only that, when it comes to cars and stuff, part of the program will be like, if you can't afford a new car, I can show you ways where you can buy a car, a luxury car, for less than a Corolla, and be able to take the rest of the money and invest it in something else, especially in COVID-19. There's a lot of changes in some sector.
Oh, man.
And I have ways to show people how to do that. And then I have a prioritized tool. I'll go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, like, how do you do that? Like, can you give an example?
Oh, the last 5 cars I bought were on the phone, some 12 hours away. I bought a Lexus ES350, which Canadian was $18,000. So American, you'd be looking $12,000. It had about 80,000 miles, but they're good for 300,000 miles. So I'm driving a luxury vehicle for less than I would buy a new Tercel. Excellent on fuel, good on safety. It's got a stereo with 15 speakers, 800 watts. I don't listen to music loud, but I like good quality. So now I have a vehicle that's worth 55 Canadian, let's say 40,000 US, for 15,000. So I'm able to have better safety, a vehicle that can last me 5 to 7 years. So that's one example. And how do I pick my car? If I'm physically there, I just look around. first, I pick a car that has a good reputation. Second of all, if the person is cutting the grass as if they cut it with scissors, I don't have to ask them if they cut the oil, if they change the oil. If the garden hose is perfect and the lawnmower is parked perfect, you don't need to ask any question. And a lot of time you could also buy something from a relative. So there's just no need.
Wow.
And I could go on and on. When the COVID-19 came up, I've got apartments that I bought, and I've had enough without having to worry. But that's been something that's been planned for years. And yet I've never suffered by losing anything. I go and rent cars because I travel a lot. And when I get back in my car, I might miss 2 years of technology where if I ran a Ford, I can see the leaves falling off if I press on the gas too much because it's not as good on fuel. But outside of that, I prefer my car. So this program shows you that. One of the second program too is the only tool on the internet. And this is it's such a program to see. It's called the prioritization tool, where you put 4 to 8 items and it will sort it out for you automatically by going back and forth. And that's so good by doing this every night so you can prioritize, or it could be major life decision. And that's free. That's on the Prioritize tool. That's on my website.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. What's the message you want to leave the guests? I asked you about the message you want your book to have in people's lives. What's the message, the red thread, if they pulled that red thread and unwound it? What's your message for the listeners listening today?
We look at everything from cars to appliances. We want things that are efficient, that are comfortable, that are better than they were 5 years ago. We need to do the same for us. We can update ourselves the same way as our phone does, the same way as every program does. It's extremely important to engage. And for young people or anybody, it's almost like a game. If you're able to get to the next level, I think that there's so many opportunities in life. There's so much you can learn. You know yourself, like the podcast, when you first started, it was something that you were not comfortable with, but the enjoyment, the people you've met over the years, the experiences, and what you've learned from it. It's getting engaged in life and doing things. And it's scary at first, and I find the scarier it is, the more you learn. So my message is to just get absorbed in life and get involved into it.
Love it. Man, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has absolutely been incredibly amazing. I think you have so much to offer, and I just wish you the best on your upcoming book tour.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it.
Any last messages, anything you want to offer the guests? Where can they find you? That type of stuff.
They can contact me. So they can go on my website, denishachey.com, DenisHachey, and I will respond back on that. And really, if they want to follow me and get into the Facebook group, I will have so much information that people can gain from. I would say give it a shot for 2 or 3 months, and then if you're not satisfied, just unsubscribe. But I would say that the chance of that happening once they start to read the material are very slim, because it's very engaging material and it's looking at it at a different angle than people usually do. It's just the way that I'm able to see things.
I love it. Awesome. Denis, thank you so much for being an amazing guest on Life Transformation Radio.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it.
Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest impacting the world around him. If anything has resonated with our conversation today with Denis Hachey here on Life Transformation Radio, with Mind-to-Mind Conversations, his book, go check it out at DenisHachey.com. Click on the link in the show notes. Go to LinkedIn, send him a friend request, letting him know that you listened to his episode of Life Transformation Radio. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to Life Transformation Radio and our YouTube channel, Life Transformation Radio. As I close the show, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.